The Columbia Police Department has changed priorities over the last year. It was last fall when ABC 17 News discovered the department was eliminating its traffic unit. Well, tonight, CPD is stressing that it still monitors traffic and polices the city's roads. It's just reprioritizing to make way for community outreach, it says. But that shift in policing may have some unintended public safety consequences.
My neck and my back was hurting, but I didn't see any blood or anything like
Jasmine
that.
Coates Buckner and her two children had quite a scare this Halloween night as they joined the hundreds of other people this year involved in a crash on Interstate 70.
My car jerked around, kids hollered, screamed, and cried. I was shaken up, so I just stopped. And I have to call 911.
The emergency call was made around 4:12 in the afternoon.
412 came to 512, 512 came to 612. 612 went to 712.
A Columbia police officer never showed.
I spent 4 hours on the interstate. For me to be on the side of the highway, even if me and my kids didn't have visible injuries, that's so dangerous. It started to get dark. A semi could have veered off and hit us or anything, and it was just very unsafe.
Last year, the Columbia Police Department said it was eliminating its traffic unit.
Traffic's, quite frankly, in the scheme of things, is just less important. That means speeding tickets are not a priority.
And the numbers bear the proof of that. In 2014, CPD, along with MUPD, filed more than 6,700 traffic cases. The caseload dropped to slightly fewer than 3,900 last year, and this year the caseload is on track to drop to around 3,600 cases. In my research, I discovered this isn't a trend that's developed over the last few years. In 2010, the number of cases filed was nearly 14,000. That remarkable drop happened as the city grew by 9%. Either Columbia drivers have just become better behaved, or fewer police means more people are getting away with traffic violations. Columbia Mayor Brian Treese considers it a public safety issue.
Our officers are spread thin. At some point during the day, we only have 7 or 8 officers on duty. And when you think about the volume of calls coming into 911, they have to prioritize those calls.
Even when they're not responding to emergencies, it can take a while to get to your problem.
You know, I've talked to police officers that when they come on duty, there's 20 or 21 calls pending that they have to start chipping away at.
And since the department shifted its priorities, city revenue has dropped, not by a little, by a lot. In September of 2014, municipal court revenue was around $75,000. For September of 2015, it dropped to $52,000. And in September of this year, without a dedicated traffic unit, the figure dropped again, this time to not quite $28,000. Compare those numbers to a Missouri city of comparable size, the revenue for the same category in the same month is almost $300,000. Of course, Mayor Treese is quick to point out that fees and fines are not the way to pay for new additions to the police force.
Municipal courts are never intended to be a revenue generator for city government. I mean, that was one of the contributing factors to Ferguson, Missouri.
But the mayor says he does see the falling revenue as an indicator that his city's police force needs help.
I do think that's something that we should be concerned about.
That concern is shared from City Hall to CPD. The department has 19 police officer positions open.
I think right now, in general, policing is changing, and that's not just specific to Columbia, that is nationwide. Police officers are facing a lot of difficult circumstances and situations. You consider the police shootings that have occurred across the nation, and there's just this elevated sense of fear in becoming a police officer.
Add to that recent findings about morale issues at CPD.
We are working to address the low morale issues. Morale is an issue, again, nationwide, and it's consistent with the same reasons why people don't want to become police officers, because policing is just a very difficult job right now. I've talked to several police departments throughout the nation that have claimed they have the same problem with low morale. We're talking with our officers. We're trying to be receptive to what their needs and desires are.
The obvious need, more men and women in blue.
People like their police officers. They just want to see more of them. And we were able to add 4 new police officers in the budget this fiscal year. I'm optimistic that we'll be able to add at least 2.5 more, maybe even before the end of this fiscal year.
As for Mrs. Buckner's crash concerns, she says she's not asking for much.
It was very important for me to have that police report. And I didn't know, I mean, was I supposed to sit on the side of the highway for 8-10 hours with 2 young kids waiting for the police to come so I can get a police report? it's just not fair.
Mrs. Coates Buckner says a CPD officer left a message for her on Monday, and the plan is to meet on Friday for that accident report. The police department urges residents to use its website to file nonviolent crimes and most non-injury crashes online. I put a link to CPD's reporting website on ours at abc17news.com. Of course, if it's ever an emergency, you know to dial 911.